we're live.
Hey, girlfriends.
Hi, girlfriends. So nice to see you all. We are girlfriends of a certain age. I'm your co host, Jessica.
I'm your other co-host, Pleshe.
And today we are talking about menopause as a spiritual portal with our dear co host, Flashay Hesh, who knows a thing or two about menopause and about spirituality. And Flashay, I just want to say that immediately I'm drawn in because I really haven't heard menopause framed as a spiritual opportunity. I hear it framed in a lot of other ways, as we discuss here on Girlfriend Podcast. But this is a fascinating way to approach it. And I also understand that you have a new offering for girlfriends, and we'll get all into that. But for everyone who's intrigued and leaning forward in their seats, what do you mean by how menopause can be a spiritual portal? Take
Yeah,
us through the door.
it's so exciting to me. So I will tell you how I made the connection. So, as I've been traveling through this perimenopause journey, these physical symptoms, and for me, I have to admit, they haven't been very intense. I'm not drenching my bed with night sweats or having like a lot of the things that I see a lot of my girlfriends struggling with. But I'm noticing some stuff for sure.
Hmm.
And I've always been a very spiritual person. I've always been very curious about my spiritual qualities and aspects. Like, what are those? And so there's something called ascension symptoms, this idea that as we become more spiritually awake and aware, that we are more than these adorable meat sacks that we take around everywhere with us, that something called ascension symptoms start to manifest. And they are almost all the exact same as perimenopause and menopause symptoms. And I remember where I was the night I realized it. I was reading one of my spiritual books and it was talking about these symptoms. And this light bulb just went off. And I wasn't having symptom the first back then. So this must have been 4 or 5 years ago. And I was like, oh, because the author even said, sorry, men, yes, this goes for you too. I know this sounds like something that ladies of a certain age go through, but yes, you'll also get night sweats and fatigue and muscle aches and headaches and joint pain and dry skin, itchy skin. Itchiness is a really big one with spiritual gifts and awarenesses waking up. And so this had been percolating for years. And then I started getting a little bit more symptomatic and realizing, oh, I think a shift is happening for me too. And so I started meditating on it and asking my higher self, what is this? Asking my spiritual guides, what is this? And a lot of little puzzle pieces started falling into place that, yes, this stage of life, this perimenopause, menopausal portal, and whether you're a spiritual person or not, we know we're going through something. We're going through a tunnel, and how long it lasts and what you find in there or who you find in there is a mystery for all of us. And so for me, walking this stage of life as a spiritual practice has really helped me feel a lot more empowered and curious and leaning in a little bit more. So that's
Yeah.
what I mean by it. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. And I think that whatever your level of spirituality is, it's like this awareness about yourself, right? Because it's like it gets so real in menopause and perimenopause. You're feeling all these symptoms, not to mention your hormones, your emotions. There's just so much happening. And, anything to frame it in a more positive way and to frame this in a way that, like, almost gives this sort of ancient wisdom opportunity for us all because as we know women have been going through this forever. And how did they frame it? And was there, when I hear the word spiritual, for me it also makes me think of dignity. It makes me think of grace. And I feel like in Western culture especially, we talk about menopause either in a very medical clinical kind of way or in sort of a disparaging, maybe jokey way about, how awful it all is. But to hold it up in this other light and to think about like what could be revealed to me? What am I maybe returning to or um, gaining an awareness around? Like, what a beautiful way to frame it. So I feel like for the girlfriends listening who are going through the throes of hot flashes and mood swings and all the things, let's frame it in a way that isn't all negative and punishing. I really resonate with that.
Right. I will also say now I do not personally have, accurate evidence that we can, bite and test and retest and in that way. But the people who I speak with who do research women going through menopause, they tell me that the women who feel the most empowered, the women who see it, who have gotten aligned in their lives. I think that menopause is an invitation for us to get aligned. If you are married to the wrong person and doing the wrong work and you are not happy, you are not living your purpose, you are going to struggle more in the menopausal tunnel is what I have seen. I do not have actual evidence that I can show you a report on that. Although I do know a woman is working on one and she's
Mm,
promised to share her findings with me when she does publish. She's a freshly minted PhD.
mm.
And so to me, that's very exciting. And so for me, one of the things I want to encourage women to ask themselves or to invite themselves to check out is how is this happening for me? As opposed to why is this happening to me?
Oh, what
So for
empowering
me,
language. Yes.
yeah. And for me, like when I have a hot flash, my new practice is I'm naming it. And I've done it with you many times. Oh, I'm hot flashing right this very minute. So I'm taking off a layer. But the
Yes.
inside, what I'm saying to myself is I am releasing that which no longer serves me. I started out saying I'm releasing karma, and then that at some point stopped feeling as accurate, or maybe I got done releasing that. Now it's like what I'm releasing that which no longer serves me. Roles that I used to play, relationships that were hurting me in various ways of being, ways of acting, ways of carrying myself, ways of staying silent.
Mhm.
um, I'm done with all of that, and now I have this, weekly practice because I heat up a couple times a week. But so for me, as opposed to like at first I panicked. Oh no, 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 oh no, I'm gonna drench the bed. I'm gonna embarrass myself. Everyone's gonna see that I'm, all glistening. And then I decided just to own it. So if this is my spiritual practice and it's a spiritual awakening for me and I'm in charge, how am I going to run myself through a hot flash or a headache? Or I went on a beautiful hike with a bunch of gorgeous middle aged ladies this past weekend up in the redwoods, and my knees still ache. And so I just found myself asking, like, what do you need? What are you telling me? So I feel like I'm treating myself and my body in this whole process like I would treat something outside of myself, like a garden that seems like needs some help, or my child
Mm.
who needs some help. I'm treating myself that way more and more. And I have to say, it's really helping me. And the women who I associate with, who are also very spiritually minded, are doing this too. We're all sharing these notes, and it's been pretty incredible. And I think that a lot of women don't have access to it. So, how do I access this as a spiritual practice? How do I be in it? And I think that really it's about being curious about ourselves and our bodies and our process and what unfinished business do we find ourselves sitting with at this stage of life? And for a
I
lot of
love
us, it's a lot.
I also just wanna check in because when you're talking about, like, reframing and making it an opportunity, which I love, it's like trusting our body, that our body is doing something that bodies have done, forever, and that it's not all happening to us, right? I feel like in a similar way, childbirth was sort of positioned to be a thing that's happening to us versus trusting our body and knowing what's happening. And I think in both cases, it's not to say that modern day interventions, modern day medicines and creams and things like that can't help and alleviate things, but that at the end of the day, we are feeling empowered. We are in the driver's seat of our life. It's not like we're just being thrashed around at these like pivotal moments of our life. So, for women listening who are going, "Oh, Flachet, does that mean you want to forego menopausal modern day treatments? Is that something you're talking about, or is this in addition to those things?"
Well, for me personally, it's an addition. So, like, even today, I'm gonna go see my doctor, and I have a menopause visit with her. She's gonna sit with me for 45 minutes, and we're gonna
Ah,
talk about things. And today, I have a bunch of questions for her about HRT. You're like, "What the hell?"
yeah.
So, no, and when I check in with my higher guidance, it's like, even before I, take something for a headache, I always ask, like, is this something else going on, or do I and oftentimes my body's like, "No, if you need to feel better, go feel better." So I think that's my own personal thing, my own personal discernment. I
Mhm.
have either a lot of external tools that will help me decide what I wanna do, like I use pendulums and I use, dowsing rods and all kinds of things like witchy things like that, but I'm more focused on, like, how does it feel in my body? So if I'm holding
Mhm.
a Tylenol, I'll just ask myself, "Does this feel like the right thing to do right now?" And most of the time the answer is yes, because I don't like taking a lot of pills, personally, but I will do it when I need to. But I'm also trying to get very oriented inside of this adorable meat sack of mine, and like, what does it need, and why do I need it, and what is my relationship to it? Like, I don't even drink water anymore without blessing it and like saying, praying over it, And I think for me, it's just a lot about reminding myself that I have a lot of opportunities. I'm so blessed to live in 2025 in Western society where I have access to medication. We still have access to HRT. Like, we can see a lot of our rights
Yeah.
are being taken
Mm.
swipes at. And that is
Mhm.
the kind of thing that I could see going away for women at some point. So for me, I'm trying to bring a lot of my own internal, but also higher wisdom to each
Mhm.
and everything I put inside of my body, and I'm very open to it. I do the creams and, I love my localized estrogen. I could I started putting the Vag cream on my face. Like, I love it. I love that we have access to that. And I also don't wanna feel like a sheep, like, everyone else is doing it, so I gotta do it. I really
Yeah.
wanna make sure I'm awake and aware at the wheel of my life, and for me, that is what being, like, spiritually awake and aware for me looks and feels like. So yeah, I'm loving all that stuff, all the creams and potions.
Yeah. So, what would you say to someone who is curious about this idea, but maybe doesn't know how to, take the first step to go through the portal? I understand you have something that could help women kind of guide them along because we know there's so much going on at this stage of life, anyways. It's like, someone give me a roadmap here, right? Especially when everything feels so uncertain and we're riding the waves. It's like, someone give me an anchor of some sort. What could you share with girlfriends?
Yeah, so I do know I get a lot of questions about this, and so I just sat down and I built out like a little itty bitty mini course just to help women walk through where are they at in their spiritual awakening process, because I think it's happens for most people, right? We tap into this wisdom, we tend to know things we don't even know how we know them. And it turns out we can cultivate those skills. We can welcome them. We can fan it alive. Um, and so I built this little mini course. And so I'll share the information for the girlfriends, of a girl or a certain age. And those who are watching the replay can just click on the link and go and just take it. It just takes a few minutes. And that would be a beautiful first step to just know where you are on this ascension process. Are you waking up? Do you even want to?
Mm.
And so I think for a lot of people, especially in times of change, they don't want to change anything else. The idea that like I'm going to like suddenly think about my menopause journey in some new way might be deeply terrifying. And to that woman I say, please do not engage in this work at all. That this is actually not a topic for you. But I think that for me, when times have changed and we can see society and the world and everything is shifting right now, it's fanning something alive in me. And I don't know where we're going, but I know where I'm intending. And so I'm putting a lot of that energy into that, creating a life of my choosing, and staying, connected to like this higher wisdom that has helped people get through very difficult times time and time again. Every chapter of human history has been a shit show in various ways and for different groups. And I think we're heading or not even heading into one. We're in another one.
Yeah.
We're in another one. And so for me, I'm feeling so connected, especially to like my great 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 grandmother. All of them, I feel like they
Mm.
had such wisdom. They in their own gardens, they grew food, they grew medicine to
Yeah.
help soothe tummies and help them and their girlfriends and their sisters get through menopausal experiences. They were tapped into a wisdom that we have completely lost.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's so empowering to think about I think oftentimes we think about technology and moving forward and progress, but we do really feel, I think, at this time of our lives that there's something's been lost, something's missing. And I find a lot of women our age going back to our cultural roots, our spiritual roots, looking backwards, like you're mentioning, to the great grandparents and wanting to know more about, maybe your story about where you came from, because there's something so vital in that. And I think that we really drop that oftentimes as a culture. And I think for the first half of our lives, we're just so busy and so consumed. And there is an opportunity to not have a midlife crisis, but like have a midlife awakening of sorts, if you can look at it that way. And what better way than to continue to like trust yourself and check in with yourself? Because man, oh man, oh man, I know that in perimenopause for me, I just constantly felt like something was happening to me. Like I used that language all the time. Like it became almost like this monster. And what an interesting way. I mean, because I went through it already, but what an interesting way to think about like what could this actually be teaching me? Which doesn't mean that sometimes you're not going to be like, screw you, hot flash, or whatever it is, but that what kind of wisdom or what kind of opportunity about also my power and ability to handle this um, can we feel into? And then I just agree with you that like it's a whole reframe, and I love that it could set us up for our future as the older women, that we've gone through this, that there's kind of this like initiation that we've stepped through, and it's very personal and it's very private. I love that your course sounds like it's this opportunity for a woman to really talk to herself and
Yes,
find out her own process, but that we can come out stronger. We can come out way more aware. And I keep going to childbirth. And I know for girlfriends who haven't had it, you can also imagine like your first puberty. But a thing that you went through that felt challenging, I think that's when we develop more confidence and bravery. And so this just, it feels like we're equipped with like you're saying, like things in our garden that we're not even aware of.
exactly. Exactly. And I think modern life has taught us it's loaded up our brains with information that we are really not equipped to manage. The amount of content, informations, opinions, thoughts, just judgments, everything that's piled into our brain that really our brains are not wired to manage or process or maintain. And that keeps us busy and preoccupied and away from that what it is to be a vital woman, what it is to be in a feminine body. What are the natural cycles even once we stop cycling? What are the natural rhythms of a woman's body? We are completely disconnected from it. And I know that you and I came up at a time where we were told that we could do anything boys could do. And it turns
Mhm.
out they were right. And in a lot of ways, you and I did it, and we showed those boys up, and there was also a cost to that. I learned to work like men. I didn't learn how to work with my body and my rhythms. I didn't know until like my late 30s. A dear, dear girlfriend gave me a book about the importance of timing your life and your energy and your projects with your cycle.
Oh my gosh, same. I didn't know about that until my adulthood. I
Yeah.
mean, it's fascinating stuff. And why did we not understand this? And also, you know, when women's health got to be more popular, a lot of men dominated the field. We know that so many midwives were kicked out, and that there was this like very different approach to everything. And we missed out on a lot of that, like just natural cycle
Yes.
awareness that our ancestors knew about for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I think too, we're kind of messed up, and it's everybody. It's no one person. It's all of us. Culture tells us that makes us more advanced. The more we're using technology and things like that. But I'm trying to strip things down a layer in my own personal life. And I'm trying to teach that to my children. I've got these two young boys I'm raising in this age of AI and technology, and everything they can think of, they can build, whether it's through a 3D printer or typing it in or even speaking into a robot agent. Build me a game, build me a this, build me a photo of that. They just live in this time where everything is possible and at their fingertips and free. And so here I am, going through my menopause journey and realizing, oh my gosh, we need to stay connected to our humanity now more than ever. And
Mhm.
my humanity is coming through this beautiful feminine form that is me. And I've been ignoring her for so long.
Mhm.
And I have so many wounds and so many traumas and dramas and pain and hurt. And the biggest thing that I have learned at this stage of life is the importance of healing all of that. And
Mhm.
that it's actually fun and easy, but it really just means becoming curious about oneself and letting a lot of that old shit go.
Yeah.
And it's been so powerful for me. And that really has been a spiritual practice. And sometimes we don't even, I mean, I'm a former therapist. So I'm not going to say don't go to a therapist and do it, but I think the culture also tells us it's not safe to even look deep inside of ourselves without a licensed professional holding our hands. And I think even that, even being most of us are afraid of our deep secrets, our shames, our hurts, our wounds, our heartbreaks, and
Yeah.
nobody teaches us even how to process them. What is it to say goodbye to a relationship? What is it to really grieve the loss of somebody? What is it to take all your marbles and go home and be whole and well? And I think that this stage of life is just such a beautiful invitation to do that. And it turns out it's actually really fun and easy and a lot of fun to do, especially in community. So that's what I'm focusing on now is building a community where women who want to do that work together, we can just do it together and share our wins and ask our questions because that's all I want to do with my time anymore is
I love that.
just be in this conversation and be with other women who are in this stage of life and letting shit go and getting aligned. I think that our purpose in midlife is different than our purpose was when we were 21 or 12 or 2 or even 102.
Yeah.
Every stage of life has a new purpose, and we need to give ourselves the permission to explore that and to live it.
Mhm. And I think you're right. We need to protect it because there is so much competition for our attention. And when you're talking, I also really hear you giving everyone an invitation to look at their internal landscape and to not fear everything that comes up versus, as we know, being torn every which direction. I was listening to a researcher online talk about how we're really, really suffering because we don't have any downtime anymore, because we fill it with everything. And that a lot of our old ways of working and walking to work and doing whatever it was we were doing process and to reflect and to think and really realizing that our modern day culture now actually, I think, requires us to have to protect that and carve it out in a way that we never had to. I mean, you and I as Gen X women can relate. Like, oh my word, I didn't have a super fancy computer phone in my pocket growing up. I got to daydream. I got to doodle and just think about things. This is no longer just easy for us to do. And I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I have a spare moment, my phone goes up in my hand, right? So I'm really curious about this kind of deeper work because I do think if we don't continue to focus on this internal part of ourselves, we're we're losing touch with it. And I think we're seeing what's playing out in our greater society right now, and it ain't cute.
Yeah,
It ain't pretty because of that inability to just sit with the emotions that come up, the discomfort that comes up, but to your point, also the joy, the beauty, the wonderful part of it.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's heartbreaking actually to see or that my children, even at school, so rarely hold a pencil anymore. And
Mm.
when I ask them to do it, they're like, huh? Why would I do that? There's no spell check with my own hand. I'm like, dude, that's your first thought.
Right?
And so I think we're losing so much. And I think what you're saying is so perfect. It really is time for us to reconnect with those parts of ourselves. And we have to ask ourselves, what parts of my humanity do I want to reclaim? Do I want
Mm,
to restore, renew, or cultivate? Because I think a lot of us, even those of us who didn't grow up with iPhones in our pockets, I think there is still this way. It's such a compelling time. I mean, I'm loving AI too. Don't get me wrong. I use it for all kinds of things, but I think that it's so important to reconnect with our own wisdom. And there is something about hitting this stage to be blessed enough to even for me to be able to say, I'm 52 years old.
yeah.
Yay! I made it to 52 and my ovaries are shutting down. Okay. And what does that mean? Right. And I'm not trying to recreate being 25, like
Mm,
today when I'm talking to my doctor about all my questions about HRT, but it is more about like, what is it about bone health and like long-term health? And I want to make sure, because I also have this idea that for me, it's like more like a bridge. If I were to
mhm,
do anything else, I don't see myself doing it forever. Like I said, I don't like taking pills and patches and things like that. I don't want to be 80 and still doing stuff. So I want to make sure, like, how am I getting myself across the bridge, right? And holding my own hand in that process because
mhm.
I want to be the one in charge. I mean, that's, I think, really important. I think it's a theme for today's talk for me. It's like,
Yeah.
I really want to be in charge of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and be thoughtful about it. And I don't want to be reactive. I think that's the other thing too.
Oh, seriously. And, you go online and you'll start getting all of these ads that are going to make you absolutely reactive regarding menopause or the million options you have. And again, it's like you can lose sight of what you are able to do when so many things are being sold at you and the messaging is telling you that you don't have it figured out, that you are a problem that needs solving,
Yeah,
right? And we know at the end of the day, menopause has been kind of boiled down to just one big ugly ass problem that needs solving rather than all of the complexity that it is, right? Because this isn't to downplay the hard part of it. And for some women, they really suffer for years, and that's really intense. And yet, it's not only that, right? It's that flattens our whole experience at this age, and that really flattens us. Oh, we're the menopause
exactly.
ladies? What does that mean for us? What does that do to our identity and to how we feel about ourselves? So I wanna thank you. This really moves me to remember, that, wow, like, going through this kind of change again is no joke. And yet what can we learn? What a beautiful invitation to kind of like think about it that way. I really want to thank you and I want to encourage girlfriends. I know I want to do it, to take this mini course and just have that conversation with yourself and see what are the messages you're hearing in your own head and maybe parcel out a little bit of like what you've internalized and what you're really calling in. I think that would be beautiful. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for allowing me to geek out about this, because I really would love to see women accept the invitation to their own initiation and to be a guest at their own initiation and like what does that look like for them. So I will have the link below in the description for girlfriends to take that mini quiz. And I'm so grateful to be on this journey with you, Jessica. I love you so much. And to all the girlfriends watching, thank you so much.
Well, I love you so much as well, and thank you. I already feel more grounded just having this conversation with you. So, thank you so much for really bringing in this wonderful, like, healing and grounding perspective because, man, did I need it more than I even knew I did today. So, thank you for really being that wonderful person for me and for hopefully all the girlfriends listening right now.
You're so welcome. You're so
Mm,
welcome. Till next time, girlfriends.
bye.
Bye.